The rain hammered against the windows of our cozy cottage in the Cotswolds, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For 20 years, Alistair, a landscape artist, had painted this idyllic life with Bronwyn, my wife. We'd met at an art exhibition in London, her fiery red hair a beacon in the crowd, her laughter as bright as the summer sun. Now at 46, I felt the colors of our marriage fading, the canvas turning gray. It started subtly. Bronwyn, a successful architect, always worked long hours, but recently the late nights intensified. Her explanations became vague, her phone glued to her hand. The warmth that once radiated from her touch felt distant, replaced by a perfunctory peck on the cheek before she rushed off to urgent meetings. I tried to brush it off, attributing it to the pressures of her demanding career, but a nagging unease settled in my gut. One Saturday, Bronwyn announced she had to attend a conference in Birmingham. "It's crucial, Alistair," she said, her eyes avoiding mine. "A make-or-break presentation." I offered to drive her to the train station, but she insisted on taking a taxi, claiming it would be quicker. That evening, I decided to surprise her by ordering her favorite Indian takeout. I called her phone, expecting to hear the bustle of a conference in the background. Instead, it went straight to voicemail. Strange, I thought. Perhaps she's in a meeting. I tried again an hour later with the same result. A knot of anxiety tightened in my chest. I told myself I was being paranoid, that she was probably just busy, but the seed of doubt had been planted, and it began to sprout with alarming speed. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy heart. Bronwyn hadn't returned my calls or texts. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Driven by an inexplicable urge, I decided to drive to Birmingham. I knew it was irrational, that I was probably making a fool of myself, but I couldn't ignore the insistent voice in my head. The conference center was bustling with activity. I wandered around, scanning the crowds for Bronwyn's distinctive red hair. After an hour of fruitless searching, I approached the registration desk. "Excuse me," I said to the young woman behind the counter. "I am looking for my wife. She's attending the architectural conference. Name?" she asked, her fingers poised over the keyboard. "Bronwyn Davies," I replied. The woman typed for a moment, then looked up, her expression neutral. "I am sorry, sir, but there's no one registered under that name." My blood ran cold. "There must be a mistake," I stammered. "She definitely said she was attending this conference." The woman shrugged. "Perhaps she registered under a different name, or maybe she's at a different conference." I thanked her and walked away, my mind reeling. Where was Bronwyn? If she wasn't at the conference, where was she? The drive back to the Cotswolds was a blur. I couldn't think straight, my thoughts racing in a chaotic jumble. I tried calling Bronwyn again, but her phone remained stubbornly silent. By the time I reached our cottage, the rain had stopped, and a sliver of moon peeked through the clouds, casting long, eerie shadows across the garden. As I walked through the front door, I noticed a faint scent in the air, a fragrance that wasn't Bronwyn's usual perfume. It was musky and unfamiliar, a scent that pricked at my senses like a thorn. I wandered through the house, my unease growing with each step. The silence was deafening, broken only by the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Then I saw it, a crumpled piece of paper lying on the kitchen counter. It was a receipt from a local hotel, the Willow Creek Inn. The date was yesterday, the same day Bronwyn was supposedly at the conference in Birmingham. My heart pounded in my chest. I picked up the receipt, my hands trembling. The room seemed to spin around me. I sank into a chair, the reality of the situation crashing down on me like a tidal wave. Bronwyn hadn't been at a conference. She'd been at a hotel, with someone else. The pain was like a physical blow, a searing agony that ripped through my soul. 20 years. 20 years of love, laughter, and shared dreams, all reduced to this crumpled receipt, a silent phone, a lingering scent of betrayal. I spent the next few hours in a daze, pacing the floor, replaying memories in my head, searching for clues, for explanations. How could she do this to me? Why, as dawn approached, I made a decision. I needed to know the truth. I needed to confront her. Bronwyn arrived home late that morning, looking tired and drawn. She walked through the door with a forced smile, her eyes still avoiding mine. "How was the conference?" I asked, my voice flat. She hesitated for a moment, then launched into a rehearsed account of presentations and networking events. I let her talk, watching her, studying her face, searching for a flicker of guilt, a hint of remorse. When she finished, I held up the receipt. This, I said, was not from a conference in Birmingham. Her face paled. The color drained from her cheeks, leaving her looking ashen. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. "Where were you, Bronwyn?" I asked, my voice dangerously low. He burst into tears. "Alistair, I can explain," she sobbed. "Explain what?" I demanded. "Explain why you lied to me. Explain why you spent the night at a hotel with someone else." She crumpled to the floor, her body racked with sobs. "It just happened," she wailed. "It was a mistake, a mistake." I repeated, my voice rising. "Spending the night with someone else is not a mistake, Bronwyn. It's a choice." She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. "It didn't mean anything," she said. "It was just a moment of weakness." "Who was it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She hesitated, then whispered a name that shattered the last vestiges of my hope. "Gareth, Gareth, my best friend, my confidant. The man I had trusted implicitly." The betrayal cut even deeper than Bronwyn's infidelity. It was a double blow, a devastating combination of treachery and deceit. "Gareth," I said, my voice filled with disbelief. "You slept with Gareth?" She nodded, her eyes filled with shame. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. The room seemed to shrink around me, suffocating me with its suffocating silence. "Get out," I said, my voice trembling with rage. "Get out of my house. Get out of my life." She didn't argue, she didn't plead. She simply stood up, gathered her belongings, and walked out the door, leaving me alone with the wreckage of our shattered marriage. The following weeks were a blur of lawyers, divorce papers, and bitter recriminations. Bronwyn tried to apologize, to explain, but I refused to listen. The trust was broken, the damage irreparable. I learned the full extent of their affair. It had been going on for months, a clandestine romance conducted behind my back, fueled by lies and deceit. Gareth, the man I had considered a brother, had been sleeping with my wife, betraying my friendship in the most heinous way imaginable. The pain was unbearable. I lost weight, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. My art suffered, my inspiration vanished. I felt like a hollow shell, a ghost haunting the ruins of my former life. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I began to think about revenge. I knew it wouldn't bring me happiness, but I couldn't shake the desire to make them pay for what they had done to me. I started by gathering information. I hired a private investigator to dig into Gareth's life. I discovered that he was heavily in debt, that his business was on the verge of collapse. He had been using Bronwyn's money to prop it up, draining her accounts, exploiting her guilt. I also learned that Gareth's wife, Alistair, was completely unaware of the affair. She was a kind, gentle woman devoted to her family. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, knowing the pain she would soon endure. I wrestled with my conscience. Should I tell Alistair the truth? Should I expose Gareth's betrayal? Or should I simply let them wallow in their deceitful happiness? In the end, I decided that Alistair deserved to know. She deserved to make her own choices, to decide whether she wanted to stay with a man who had so callously betrayed her. I wrote her a letter, detailing the affair, providing evidence, and expressing my sympathy. I made sure to remain anonymous, not wanting to involve myself directly in her situation. A few weeks later, I received a message from Alistair. She thanked me for my courage and honesty. She had confronted Gareth, and he had confessed everything. She had thrown him out of the house and filed for divorce. I felt a sense of satisfaction, knowing that I had brought justice to at least one innocent victim. But the revenge didn't bring me the peace I had hoped for. The pain was still there. The anger still simmered beneath the surface. I decided that I needed to leave the Cotswolds to escape the memories that haunted me. I sold the cottage, packed my belongings, and set off on a journey, seeking solace and healing in the vast expanse of the world. I traveled through Europe, visiting museums, exploring ancient ruins, immersing myself in different cultures. I painted landscapes, capturing the beauty and diversity of the world, rediscovering my passion for art. Slowly, gradually, the wounds began to heal. The pain lessened, the anger subsided. I started to see the world in a new light, to appreciate the simple joys of life, to embrace the possibilities that lay ahead. One day, while sketching in a park in Florence, I met a woman named Isabella. She was an art historian with a warm smile and a gentle spirit. We struck up a conversation, and I found myself drawn to her intelligence and her kindness. We spent the next few weeks exploring Florence together, sharing stories, laughing, and discovering a connection that felt both familiar and new. Isabella helped me to see that I was not defined by my past, that I was capable of love and happiness again. She encouraged me to embrace the future, to let go of the bitterness and resentment that had consumed me for so long. I realized that revenge was a hollow victory, that true healing came from forgiveness and self-acceptance. I forgave Bronwyn and Gareth, not for their sake, but for my own. I forgave myself for the mistakes I had made, for the pain I had endured. I decided to stay in Florence to build a new life with Isabella. We bought a small apartment overlooking the Arno River, and I set up a studio where I could paint and create to my heart's content. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good. I had found love again. I had rediscovered my passion, and I had learned that even after the darkest of storms, the sun can still shine. One evening, as Isabella and I were strolling along the Ponte Vecchio, I received a phone call from Bronwyn. Her voice was weak and trembling. "Alistair," she said, "I need your help." "What is it?" I asked, my heart sinking. "Gareth, he's gone," she said, her voice breaking. "He's left me. He's taken all my money and I don't know what to do." I felt a pang of pity for her despite everything she had done. She had been used and abandoned just as I had been. Karma, it seemed, had finally caught up with her. "I'm sorry, Bronwyn," I said, "but there's nothing I can do. You made your choices and now you have to live with the consequences." I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of closure. I had finally let go of the past, and I was ready to embrace the future with Isabella by my side. The rain had stopped, and the sun was setting over the Arno River, casting a golden glow on the ancient city. I took Isabella's hand and we walked on, leaving the shadows of the past behind us. Years later, I received a letter from Alina. She had rebuilt her life, found a new love, and was happier than she had ever been. She thanked me again for my courage and honesty, and she wished me well. I smiled, knowing that I had played a small part in her journey to happiness. And I knew that even though betrayal and heartbreak can leave deep scars, it is possible to heal, to forgive, and to find love and happiness again. My life with Isabella was filled with joy, laughter, and shared dreams. We traveled the world together, exploring new cultures and creating beautiful memories. We grew old together, our love deepening with each passing year. As I sit here now, in my sun-drenched studio in Florence, surrounded by my paintings and memories, I can honestly say that I am grateful for the lessons I have learned, even the painful ones. Betrayal can be a devastating experience, but it can also be a catalyst for growth and transformation. It can force you to confront your own vulnerabilities, to reevaluate your priorities, and to discover your inner strength. And sometimes, just sometimes, it can lead you to a place of greater love, happiness, and fulfillment than you ever thought possible. So, if you are reading this and you have been betrayed, know that you are not alone. Know that the pain will eventually fade and that brighter days lie ahead. And know that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a new beginning. Remember to cherish the love you have, to be honest and faithful in your relationships, and to never take the people you care about for granted. For life is precious and love is a gift, and we should always strive to protect and nurture them with all our hearts. And to those who have betrayed, I say this: consider the consequences of your actions. Think about the pain you inflict, the trust you shatter, and the lives you destroy. For in the end, karma always catches up, and the price of betrayal is always higher than you think. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it has resonated with you, and that it has given you some comfort and hope in your own journey through life's challenges. Farewell, and may you find peace and happiness in your own way.